Welcome back to Tell Me More Stories Told This podcast.
Yes, welcome back.
Today, we're going to dive into the career of
Kanye West.
Kanye West.
Or Ye, as he's going by now.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be a wild ride.
Yeah.
So buckle up.
It is. It's going to be a wild ride.
Yep.
You know, we're talking about somebody who went from, producing beats in Chicago basements to, this global icon.
It's truly remarkable. The level of influence he's had across music, fashion, even venturing into politics, it's mind-blowing.
Yeah, this is a guy who wasn't really even supposed to be a rapper.
Right.
If you listen to the industry back then, they're like, nah, this guy's a producer.
Producer, yeah.
He's the guy behind the boards, not the guy
stay in the studio,
not the face on the album cover.
You make the beats, we'll find the rappers. That was kind of the mentality at the time.
Yeah, and it's incredible to think that, like, The Blueprint, Jay-Z's The Blueprint, which is like a classic.
Oh, absolute classic, yeah.
That album has Kanye's fingerprints all over it.
Everywhere.
Like, he was shaping the sound of hip-hop, before he even stepped into the spotlight.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes his debut, The College Dropout, so impactful.
Oh, yeah.
Because it wasn't just, here's another rapper. It was like this guy who understood the inner workings of how these songs were made and then came out and subverted everything, flipped the script.
And when he finally did step into the spotlight with The College Dropout, it wasn't like he just, he didn't just enter the room. He, like, blew the roof off the place.
Exploded, yeah.
It was huge.
I think it was the combination, right? You had the beats, obviously, which were so innovative. Like, he was blending these soul samples with gospel influences, which nobody was really doing at the time in that way. And then you had the lyrical content. Oh, yeah. He's rapping about college debt, self-doubt, materialism.
Stuff that was not...
Things that other rappers didn't want to touch, It was considered too real, maybe too personal.
Yeah. And Jesus Walks.
Oh, man.
That song
is huge.
It's huge, right? It was, like, on MTV alongside... all the bling and all.
Oh, the typical hip hop video.
The bravado. And here's this song that's spiritual and it's catchy.
Yeah.
It's like it was challenging what mainstream hip hop could be.
It really did, and it resonated, right? It wasn't just like a critical darling. It was a hit.
Oh yeah, it was huge.
And I think that's what you see throughout Kanye's career is this constant expectation shattering,
He's constantly pushing those boundaries.
Pushing it. Yeah, he's not content with staying in one lane.
He's not content with success.
Yeah.
He's got to keep pushing it further.
He's got to evolve. He's got to try new things. And you see that with, the founding of Good Music.
Yeah.
His own label. He signs, John Legend.
Right.
And it's not just a business move. It's a statement.
It's a statement. It's like he's curating a sound, like building a platform for a whole new generation of artists.
And giving them the freedom and the space to explore their own creativity in ways that maybe the mainstream industry wouldn't allow.
Right. It's almost like with each album he's conquering new territory, right? Late Registration, you get the orchestral
big lush arrangements.
The lush arrangements. Graduation is like stadium ready anthems. It's like this constant upward trajectory.
And then he drops 808s and Heartbreak,
right,
which is just like, whoa, what just happened?
Yeah, it's a left turn.
Total left turn, but brilliant, It's so raw. It's so introspective, the auto-tune, the electronic influences. It's like he almost predicted the sound of pop music.
Yeah, he was ahead of the curve on that one.
Years ahead.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because it alienated some fans, the hardcore hip-hop heads were like, what is this?
Right.
But it resonated with a whole new audience who connected with that vulnerability, that rawness, that kind of emotional honesty.
Yeah. And you see that willingness to experiment, and to take risks, even on later albums, right? Like My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. It's like this maximalist masterpiece. It's like throwing everything at the wall.
Yeah, kitchen sink, everything.
Kitchen sink.
Yeah.
And then you have like Yeezus, which is almost the opposite. It's abrasive and industrial. It's like he's just refusing to be put in a box.
Refusing to be defined. He's constantly reinventing himself. And drive, it extends beyond music, right? You have fashion. The Yeezy line, first with Nike, then Adidas, even Gap.
Right.
And he's pushing boundaries there too. With the designs, the marketing, the whole approach is very unconventional.
Yeah, it's like he has this boundless energy that can't be contained.
It spills over.
It spills over, yeah. And that kind of leads us to the controversies, right? The personal life,
right?
The marriage to Kim Kardashian,
high profile,
the very public divorce. I mean, it's all playing out in the media.
And it becomes, fodder for the tabloids, the 24-hour news cycle.
Yeah, it's hard to escape it.
It's everywhere.
It's everywhere, yeah.
And I think, that's where things get even more complicated because his outspoken nature and his forays into politics and religion, they really stirred things up, Before we go any further, though, I just want to remind everyone to hit that subscribe button.
Oh, yeah, hit that subscribe button.
To catch all the other fascinating deep dives we have planned. Now, back to Ye.
Yeah, back to Ye.
It's like his meeting with Donald Trump, the announcement of his own presidential run under the birthday party. It was like...
It's like watching a performance art piece.
Exactly, yeah.
Unfold in real time.
In real time, yeah. And it's hard to parse... what's genuine, what's performance, what's calculated, what's just Kanye being Kanye.
Yeah.
But it also highlights this evolving relationship that he has with Christianity.
Yeah.
His exploration of faith through music with albums like Jesus is King and those Sunday service events. These were massive gospel-inspired gatherings, almost like a traveling revival show.
Right.
Blending music, performance, spirituality. It attracted huge crowds, celebrities, and generated a ton of discussion about the intersection of faith and pop culture.
Yeah.
Which is fascinating in and of itself.
And all of this is happening while he's, very publicly battling his mental health.
Yeah.
Talking openly about his bipolar disorder.
Yeah.
It adds another layer of complexity.
Absolutely.
To the narrative, right?
Yeah.
You have this incredibly talented, ambitious,
yeah.
and often unpredictable figure grappling with these very personal challenges.
And it's all playing out on a global stage.
And so on.
With social media amplifying everything,
right.
It's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot to process.
Yeah.
We've only just scratched the surface here.
Barely scratched it.
Are you ready to dig a little deeper?
I'm ready. Let's go.
All right, let's dive into part 2.
Yeah, it's almost like Ye's career is this like constant push and pull, between these creative highs and then these very public, very messy controversies.
Yeah, and as we kind of move into this later period of his career, I think it's hard to ignore the controversies.
Yeah.
Things take a darker turn, wouldn't you say?
It's undeniable. I mean, his support for Donald Trump.
Yeah.
That whole Make America Great Again hat incident. It really alienated a lot of fans. For many, it felt like a betrayal.
Yeah.
Especially given his, earlier outspokenness on social issues.
Right.
He had been very vocal about racial injustice, police brutality, and then to see him aligning himself with someone like Trump, it was jarring for a lot of people.
It wasn't just wearing a hat, though, right? He went all in.
Yeah.
He announced his own presidential run in 2020.
Birthday party.
Under the birthday party, yeah.
Which, I mean, come on, it's Kanye.
Yeah, it's very Kanye.
You've gotta love the boldness of it, but
yeah,
it wasn't your typical campaign.
No, it wasn't.
He was talking about bringing prayer back to schools, promoting environmentalism, this like America First diplomacy.
Yeah.
But it was all delivered in this very,
Yeah, in this very Kanye way.
This mix of sincerity and spectacle.
Right. It's like performance art meets politics meets
reality show. I don't know. It was hard to know what to take seriously.
And then there was his running mate, Michelle Tidball.
Oh yeah, the preacher from Wyoming.
Yeah, the preacher from Wyoming.
I mean, you can't make this stuff up.
No, you can't.
It was all so unconventional, so unpredictable,
Yeah, it was like watching a car careen off the road.
And you're just like, oh, I can't look away, but you're also like, this is gonna be bad.
This might not end well.
Yeah.
But I do think it's important to point out that some of his statements, particularly around abortion, were deeply offensive to many.
Absolutely.
And it wasn't just, political posturing.
Right.
It was, impacting real people.
Real lives.
Causing a lot of hurt.
Yeah.
and it strained relationships, even within his own family.
And I think, his marriage to Kim Kardashian, which was already,
under a microscope.
Yeah, under immense pressure.
Yeah.
From the constant media scrutiny, they couldn't go anywhere without the paparazzi following them.
Right.
And I think his political forays just added fuel to the fire. It ultimately ended in divorce in 2022.
Right. And around this time, too, you start to see his behavior, particularly online, become increasingly erratic.
Yeah, the Twitter rants.
The rants, yeah.
The lashing out at people, making accusations.
Yeah.
It was clear that he was not in a good place mentally.
It seemed like it was taking a toll, on his well-being.
Absolutely. And remember when the Grammys dropped him as a performer?
Oh, yeah.
Because of his concerning online behavior.
Right.
That was a big deal,
That was a big deal.
For the biggest award show in music to basically say, you're not welcome here.
Yeah.
That says a lot.
And it didn't stop there, right? Like later that year, in late 2022, he started making these anti-Semitic remarks.
Yeah.
And that was a huge turning point.
A line was crossed.
A line was crossed.
And the consequences were swift and severe.
Yeah. I mean, brands started dropping him left and right. Adidas, Gap, Balenciaga.
Yeah. Everyone was distancing themselves.
He lost his billionaire status. It was a massive financial reputational hit.
Yeah, it was like watching a train wreck in slow motion.
It really was.
He went on Alex Jones's InfoWars.
Right.
Praised Hitler, denied the Holocaust, even identified himself as a Nazi.
It was shocking and disturbing.
And it went beyond just being controversial. This was hate speech.
Yeah.
And it had real-world consequences.
Yeah. His
Twitter account was suspended. His career was in free fall. And the damage he inflicted was far-reaching.
Yeah. And I know he did apologize to the Jewish community later.
Yeah.
But for many, it felt too little too late.
Especially given, some of his subsequent statements where he kind of defended his earlier remarks.
Yeah.
It's like it's a complex situation because he's clearly struggling. Yeah.
But his actions have real-world consequences.
Yeah.
The Anti-Defamation League even reported that his rhetoric inspired actual acts of hate and violence.
Right.
And that's a heavy burden to bear.
And amidst all of this, he's still making music, He released Vultures with Ty Dolla $ign this year.
#1 album.
Debuted at #1.
Yeah, the guy can't escape the spotlight.
It's like even when he's trying to, he's still there.
He's inescapable, and that brings us to his personal life, which, let's be honest, has always been intertwined with his career.
Yeah.
The divorce from Kim Kardashian, the whirlwind romance with Julia Fox, the surprise marriage to Bianca Censori. It's all played out in the tabloids.
It's like this never-ending soap opera, and we're all, glued to the screen.
We can't look away, even though, sometimes we probably should.
Yeah, and I think even with the controversies and the pain and,
all the messiness, there's this undeniable fascination with his life and his story.
He's a magnet. He draws you in, even when you're repelled by some of the things he does.
And with Kanye, you never know what's coming next.
Nope.
A new album.
$1 billion documentary.
A $1 billion documentary.
Another outrageous statement.
Right. It's impossible to predict.
You just got to hold on and see where the ride takes you.
That's what keeps us coming back, right? The unpredictability. The sheer force of his personality, right?
Yeah.
He's a walking paradox.
Absolutely.
Brilliant, flawed, captivating,
infuriating, at the same time.
At the same time, yeah.
He's the full package.
So are you ready to see where he lands in the final chapter of our deep dive?
Let's do it. Bring it on. So, how do we even begin to sum up, Kanye West? I mean, it's
like trying to fit.
It's impossible almost, yeah.
It's like trying to fit a hurricane into a bottle.
Exactly, yeah.
There's so much to unpack, right? Yeah. The music, the fashion,
business ventures,
controversies, the personal life,
the spiritual journey,
mental health struggles. It's
all there.
It's almost overwhelming.
And yet here we are, right?
Yeah.
Trying to make sense of it all.
Trying to make sense of it, yeah. And honestly, I don't know if we can fully make sense of it.
I don't think anyone can, really.
I think that's part of what makes him so fascinating, right? He's a puzzle with missing pieces. He's a story with chapters yet to be written.
He keeps us guessing, that's for sure.
He keeps us guessing, yeah. But even with all the missing pieces,
yeah,
I think one thing is clear,
yeah,
right? This guy's a cultural force.
Oh, absolutely.
He's a lightning rod.
He sparks debate. He pushes boundaries.
Yeah. Whether you love him
or hate him, you can't deny his impact.
You can't deny his impact. He's influenced a generation of artists.
Yeah.
Shifted the sound of music.
Made fashion more accessible,
yeah.
more inclusive, at least in his own way.
Yeah, and I think, it's also important to acknowledge his impact on the conversation around mental health.
Absolutely. He's been very open about his bipolar disorder. And I think in doing so, he's broken down a lot of stigmas.
Right.
He's shown that vulnerability can coexist with success.
Yeah, it's important to acknowledge that, especially given how his mental health has been, portrayed in the media, often with a lot of sensationalism.
Oh, absolutely.
A lot of judgment, a lot of, using it as clickbait, essentially.
Yeah, right.
But we also have to acknowledge, that he's made some incredibly damaging statements.
Right.
Particularly his anti-Semitic remarks.
Yeah.
Which have no place in any conversation.
No place. Yeah, those statements were hurtful.
Hurtful, dangerous.
Dangerous. And they've had real world consequences.
Yeah.
We can't downplay that.
And it's a reminder that words have power.
Absolutely.
And influence comes with responsibility.
And that kind of leads us to this question of his legacy.
Yeah, the big question, right?
The big question, what will people remember him for?
Yeah.
The music, the fashion, the controversies.
Right, the humanitarian work. I mean, there's so many different facets.
It's hard to pick just one.
Yeah, and I think honestly, it's probably all of the above.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, I think you're right.
It's a mixed bag. It's a tapestry woven with threads of brilliance and innovation.
Egotism, pain, redemption.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all there. It's all mixed up in there.
He's a walking contradiction, right?
He is. He is a walking contradiction.
Someone who can inspire you one minute and disappoint you the next.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think he's also a reminder that humans are complex.
Oh, absolutely.
And we're all capable of both great and terrible things.
Yeah, we all have those different sides to us.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of what he's capable of, he's been surprisingly quiet lately.
Yeah, at least compared to
the past few years.
His usual antics.
Right, the usual antics. Yeah, he's still making music.
Yeah.
But the public outbursts seem to have subsided, at least for now.
Yeah, he's laying low. I mean, he announced his 11th solo album, Bully, last year.
Right, Bully.
That we haven't heard much about it since then.
No, we haven't.
And then there's that massive documentary project that's in the works. In whose name?
Oh, yeah.
Which is rumored to have $1 billion budget.
$1 billion?
Yeah, for a documentary.
That's insane.
It is insane. But it just goes to show,
the level of interest.
The level of interest there is in his life, even now.
Even now, yeah.
After everything that's happened.
After everything that's happened, yeah.
People are still captivated.
So what does the future hold for Kanye West?
That's the $1 million question, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, will he retreat from the spotlight?
Will he double down on his controversial views?
Will he find redemption? I mean, who knows?
Honestly, I have no idea. But I'll be watching.
Yeah.
Along with the rest of the world.
To see what this next chapter holds.
Yeah, because it's bound to be entertaining, one way or another.
It's going to be entertaining, that's for sure.
That's Kanye.
It's been a wild ride exploring the life and career of Kanye West. He's a force of nature.
A creative genius.
He's a troubled soul.
A flawed individual.
And ultimately, I think he's a reflection of our own complex.
And often contradictory.
Society.
He's a mirror to our own, struggles and triumphs.
Yeah, and I think, he's also a reminder that there's often more to the story than what we see on the surface.
Absolutely.
And judging someone based solely on their public persona is
rarely fair.
Rarely fair or accurate.
We all have our complexities, our nuances.
Yeah. So thank you for joining us on this
deep dive.
Into the world of Kanye West.
Hope you enjoyed the ride.
And until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning.
And keep the conversation going.
Yeah, keep the conversation going.